Revealed. After my son's suspicious death, my daughter-in-law made an incredible choice that shocked our small town. Claire sat on the edge of her bed, the soft glow of the bedside lamp flickering in the early morning light, her mind racing with echoes of laughter replaced by silence. Jake, her son, once the bright star of their small Midwestern town, was gone. The investigative reports draped over her desk like a shroud, promising answers that never came. Guilt festered within her as she thought of the joy she infused into her classroom. Yet how could she teach resilience or kindness when her own heart felt frozen in grief? Each lesson plan felt hollow, drained of the very spirit she believed in. How could she face her students with a brave face when the only thing that rippled through her insides was anguish? The whispers had begun to seep into her life, rumors skimming like delicate shadows across the sunlit hallways of her school, and they threatened to engulf her like a relentless wave. Was Mia, Jake's widow, somehow involved? The thought made her stomach churn. If they suspected her daughter-in-law, what would it mean for her, for Jake's memory, and the very community Claire adored? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Claire managed to breathe in, hold it for a moment, then forcibly exhale. The gnawing uncertainty about Mia weighed heavily within her. The woman who once brought light into her son's life now carried a profound burden steeped in tragedy. Claire's heart began to swell with an emotion she couldn't quite place. Was it anger for Jake's death or resentment for Mia's grief? She questioned herself every second, wondering what it meant to placate and support when her instincts screamed for the truth. Yet there was a flicker of admiration within that confusion. Mia had tailored her grief into an incredible decision, a mural to express the vitality of life, even as despair surrounded them like an unwelcome blanket. Could Claire, with tears blurring her vision, find a way to support Mia's quest for truth? Her emotions twisted and turned like a storm brewing deep within, an untamed force she feared would swallow them both. Just as the concept hovered at the edge of her mind, the weight of their intertwined grief coalesced. What was it really to seek answers? The words choked her throat. Would revealing a truth ignite the hidden anger in our small town?
The thought terrified her, and Claire clenched her fists, her nails biting into her palms like raw nerves. A part of her begged to shout for justice, while another whimpered in pain for the community she loved and cherished. As tension throbbed between them, Claire's heart raced, knowing the unveiling of Mia's mural could either heal or shatter the place they called home. Would they discover hidden secrets, or were they destined to confront a myriad of lies? She stood at the precipice, utterly torn about what awaited her. The curtain didn't just conceal the mural, it smothered her convictions. As the familiar faces shifted uneasily in her mind, Claire braced herself for what would come next, fully aware that the truth was only the beginning of an exigent journey, one that pummeled her every emotion and left her grasping for answers in the shadows of loss. Claire poured herself a cup of coffee, her fingers trembling as she steeled her resolve for the day ahead. The rich aroma filled the air, yet it did little to settle the turmoil churning within her. Another day in the classroom awaited her, and with each passing hour she felt the weight of her son's absence growing heavier on her shoulders. Today was the day she had to gather her strength and address the rumors that had begun to echo around the school, threatening to distort Jake's memory and Mia's intentions. Standing at the front of her classroom later that morning, Claire tried to stifle her inner conflicts. The bright faces of her students, eager to soak in knowledge and embody hope, made her heart ache. She realized that their innocence jarred with the darkness she'd been grappling with. As she discussed their upcoming art project, her voice infused with excitement. A thought invaded her mind. Could she turn her grief into inspiration for them? What if instead of wavering under the pressure, she used this moment to encourage her students to express their emotions thoughtfully? Drawing from Mia's courage, the notion stirred the embers of defiance within her. Art doesn't just reflect our happiness, it reveals our pain, funnily enough, eliciting beauty from our darkest moments, she said, watching her students' eyes widen. But while their eagerness fed her, shadows skulked beneath the surface. That night, Claire sat in front of her laptop in the flickering glow of the screen. Her fingers hovered over the keys, prompting her to seek the truth, yet fear held her back. With each click, she wrestled with the decision: delve deeper into the circumstances surrounding Jake's death, or shield herself from the potential devastation. Claire opened various tabs, leading her down a rabbit hole of articles chronicling theories and investigations concerning incidents like Jake's. Each cursor click became an act of reclaiming agency, forcing her to confront what she had buried beneath platitudes of healing.
As the threads of possibilities unfurled, she stumbled upon a comment about Mia, questioning her motivations. With bile rising in her throat, Claire shut her laptop with a bang, feeling trapped between familial loyalty and the relentless pursuit of justice for Jake. Restless, she stood up and paced around her living room, contemplating Mia's mural. The color palette, designed to represent joy and loss, now felt like a vibrant contradiction to the somber reality they faced. It could be a catalyst or a coffin for truths hidden beneath the surface. Would it foster connection or deepen division? In the depths of her contemplation, Claire recalled something Jake once said. "We learn what we can endure, Mom. We write our own stories." Those words ignited something in her. Perhaps it was time for her to write her own chapter, to express a pain buried deeper than her son's tragic end. She knew she couldn't carry the burden of doubt any longer. It was time to confront not just the shadows in Mia's life, but the darkness festering within herself. By dawn, sunbeams creeping into her room, Claire resolved to approach Mia, not with accusations, but with compassion and understanding. She wanted to create a shared path towards healing, even if it demanded untangling painful truths that could shake their foundations. As she prepared herself for their conversation, one undeniable truth crystallized within her. The time had come to face the deeper concerns hovering before her, and in doing so, challenge her own perceptions of loyalty, grief, and motherhood. What revelation awaited her when she reunited with the woman who now seemed a stranger? With that decision echoing in her mind, Claire stepped out the door, prepared to encounter a truth that could very well change the trajectory of her life forever. Claire walked purposefully through the sunlit streets. Each step towards Mia's apartment awakened dormant instincts she hadn't drawn upon since Jake's death. The air was crisp, invigorating, yet the weight of anticipation lodged heavy in her chest. Today was no ordinary confrontation. It was a dive into uncharted territory, a necessary plunge into the depths of both grief and truth. As she approached the familiar door, the vibrant mural Mia had painted reverberated in her mind. Each hue now felt like a whisper from her son, a call to seek deeper meanings. Claire knocked lightly, uncertainty prickling at her resolve. How would Mia respond? Would compassion come easily, or would it be drowned in defensiveness? This inner turmoil mirrored the chaotic brushstrokes of the mural, an invitation to explore emotions long since buried. Mia opened the door, her surprise quickly morphing into a welcoming smile, albeit laced with an underlying tension. "Claire, I didn't expect to see you today." "Can we talk?" Claire's voice shook slightly as she stepped inside, the warmth of the room contrasting with the chill pooling inside her. "Of course." "I'll make some tea," Mia replied.
retreating to the kitchen. As she disappeared, Claire took a moment to absorb her surroundings. Framed photographs of Jake captured lighthearted moments, echoing laughter that now felt like a distant memory. These snapshots served as poignant reminders of shared joy, and yet they ignited a flame of sorrow within her. When Mia returned, the clatter of the teacups forced Claire's focus back, the atmosphere heavy with unwelcome tension. Sitting across from each other, the silence swelled before it could be shattered by words. "Mia, I've been thinking a lot about Jake and everything that happened." Mia's gaze faltered momentarily, her fingers tightening around her cup. It's been hard," she finally admitted, her voice resonating with an emotional depth Claire had scarcely heard since the tragedy took them all. "I want to understand. I need to know your feelings, especially after those rumors. I'm worried they could ruin Jake's memory. What do you think?" Mia hesitated, a flicker of frustration crossing her features. "You think I endorse those? I never wanted this. The pain of losing him is unbearable, Claire. I would never tarnish his memory." Her words cut deep, and Claire felt the raw emotion hanging in the space between them. "I didn't mean to imply that. I want to believe you. I need to." Mia exhaled slowly, her features softening. "Then believe me when I say that I'm attempting to rebuild, not just for myself, but for us, for all of us who loved him." Their gazes locked, and in that moment, Claire witnessed the vulnerability missing in their relationship since the day they lost Jake. This acknowledgement marked the beginning of understanding, a light pierced through the clouds of doubt. "Let's create something together," Claire suggested, the idea sparking to life amid the ashes of their shared sorrow. Mia's eyes brightened as hope rekindled, but Claire's mind was still fraught with questions. What would this project require from them? Could they truly navigate their griefs side by side, unearthing deeper truths? Or would it stir old wounds too raw to bear? As they began discussing ideas, an unspoken bond formed between them, stitched through the articulations of sorrow and longing for healing. Yet in the heart of this collaboration, shadows loomed, both outside in the world of rumors and inside as they wrestled with their truths. Claire knew the path ahead would not be easy. It was fraught with potential disillusionments and betrayals. Would they emerge from this carving of the past stronger, or would the darkness prove overwhelming? As the discussion deepened, Claire's heart raced with unexpected intensity. She had given voice to her pain, but would the act of creating truly illuminate the hidden corners of their grief? Would it ultimately open doors to healing, or plunge them both deeper into despair? With the scope of their undertaking echoing in her thoughts, Claire realized that this was only the beginning of their journey, a journey that would test every ounce of their resolve. What unspeakable truths awaited as they unearthed their emotions through art? As the conversation shifted into the brainstorming of their art project, Claire felt a surge of creativity rise within her, intertwined with her grief. Every suggestion she made felt like a small catharsis, a stitch in the fabric of her healing. Together, they brainstormed themes and mediums, searching for ways to channel their pain into a tangible form. "What if we created a mural?" Mia proposed cautiously. "Something vibrant, reflecting both our memories of Jake and our current emotions. Colors that symbolized love, loss, and hope." A mural. The idea resonated with Claire, igniting fragments of inspiration. The vibrant colors of Mia's previous work could intertwine with their grief, culminating in a piece that told a story. Yes, colors that shift with the seasons, representing the ways we're changing, evolving. It could be a visual narrative of our journey. As they sketched ideas, an authentic camaraderie began to surface. Claire marveled at Mia's passion for art, observing how her hands danced over paper with grace and confidence. It made Claire question her own creative abilities. She had often seen herself as just a passive observer in life, never bold enough to take risks unless forced by circumstance. Could this be an opportunity to break free from that shell? Could she contribute meaningfully to this project? "Claire, what colors do you think we should use for, the pain?" Mia's question pierced through Claire's introspection. The weight of the moment demanded honesty. Claire hesitated, then replied, "I think gray. Gray for the days shrouded in sadness. But perhaps a deep blue, too. The kind of blue that feels heavy yet serene. The kind of blue that holds untold stories." Mia nodded thoughtfully, her expression a mix of understanding and contemplation. "Sounds like a good start. We'll need to define our spectrum, bring out the range of feelings we've held inside." Seeing Mia engage so fully sparked a flicker of determination within Claire. She wanted to explore her emotions more openly, but clarity eluded her. "What about you? What colors speak of your grief?" Mia lowered her gaze, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Maybe a burnt orange? Something that shows the intensity of loss, but also the warmth of the memories. Jake loved fall." Claire noted the hint of vulnerability in Mia's voice. This was no longer just a project, it was an intimate dive into their collective grief.
The act of sharing their thoughts was unraveling threads of their past misunderstandings, coaxing forth answers that hovered unsettlingly close. As they continued to navigate through colors and brushes, Claire caught herself momentarily lost in thought, contemplating how this endeavor could transform their relationship. It held the potential for growth, but also carried risks. What if they unearthed something too painful to face together? The fear of pushing boundaries loomed large in her mind. But she clenched her fists, igniting a resolve to confront those fears. Maybe in facing the pain head-on, they could forge a deeper bond, one built on authenticity rather than assumptions. "Should we bring others into this?" Claire inquired, her voice steadying with fresh determination. "I mean, those who loved Jake." Mia's expression shifted to surprise with a hint of apprehensive excitement. "Would you want to involve them? It could be a way to widen our circle of healing." The idea sent Claire's heart racing. Could this undertaking actually expand to include mutual friends or family? It could simultaneously honor Jake's memory and weave it into a larger narrative, one filled with love and connection. Yet the prospect brought forth a new wave of anxiety. Would they all be willing to embrace the uncharted territory of their own grief? With her resolve softening around the edges, Claire nodded slowly, feeling both liberated and constricted by the thought. Perhaps. As they finalized their plans for a gathering, a sense of purpose kindled inside her, igniting a desire to move forward. Each step, every stroke of the paintbrush seemed to promise not just an exploration of grief, but also a chance for reclamation. Standing up to gather their things, Claire's mind buzzed with anticipation. What if the collaboration offered the healing they each needed? Would this project turn into a bridge for reconnection, or would it expose deeper fractures in their already fragile relationships? In the quiet hum of creativity, the answers loomed just beyond reach, tantalizingly close, yet dauntingly far. Claire took a deep breath, preparing herself for what lay ahead, a journey not only into art, but into the rawness of collective vulnerability. Claire arrived at the small art studio the next evening, her heart pounding in anticipation. The air was thick with unspoken emotions, the kind that danced between fear and hope. She found Mia already there, setting up canvases and paints in a haphazard order that mirrored their chaotic feelings. "Hey, you made it," Mia greeted, her smile bright but tinged with uncertainty. "I wasn't sure if you'd actually go through with it." "I'm here, aren't I?" Claire replied, surprised by the steadiness of her own voice. As they began to arrange the materials, Claire noticed the diverse colors of paint smeared on Mia's apron, each a testament to artistic exploration and emotional release.
That imagery ignited a longing within her to find her own colors, to express herself without fear of judgment. "Did you think a lot about who we should invite?" Mia asked, her hands still busy with setting up. Claire hesitated, considering the potential outcomes of such an invitation. I think we should reach out to Ethan," she said, naming Jake's closest friend. "He spent so much time with him. His perspective could bring something valuable to the mural." Mia paused, her eyebrows knitting together. "Ethan? Sure, we could ask him, but what about Jake's family? It might be helpful for them to be part of this too." A tightness gripped Claire's chest. The idea of Jake's family attending this gathering stirred up feelings she wasn't ready to confront. "I don't know if they're ready for this, though. Maybe they'd prefer to stay at home, to grieve in solitude." "Or they might be desperate for a connection," Mia countered gently, yet firmly. "We all grieve differently, and sometimes being together helps. You saw how many people showed up at the funeral." The tension in the room thickened. Claire could feel herself wavering between the safety of her isolation and the potential healing that vulnerability with others could bring. But she recognized the truth in Mia's words. Perhaps their involvement would enrich the mural and affirm Jake's presence in their lives. "Okay," Claire relented, her voice low but resolute, as she busied herself with paint tubes. "Let's invite them all, whoever wants to come. If they choose to embrace it, we should welcome them." Mia's face brightened, revealing the hope that had been lurking just beneath the surface. "I think it'll be amazing. The more perspectives we have, the richer the narrative will be." With renewed determination, Claire sent out the invitation. As the confirmations trickled in, she felt a weight shift in her heart. Could this endeavor truly become a space for healing? Yet with each response, a darker thought gnawed at her insides. What if old wounds were reopened? What if confrontations occurred instead of camaraderie? As the evening approached, a storm of emotions swirled within her. Excitement, anxiety, and fear for what the gathering would unleash. Her thoughts spiraled as she envisioned the mix of familiar faces and uncharted territories lying ahead, each person carrying their own grief and hopes. Would they find solace, or would raw honesty shatter fragile connections? When the moment finally arrived, the studio buzzed with apprehension as Mia welcomed the first guests, Ethan and Jake's parents. Their entry felt monumental to Claire, each step echoing the complexity of her feelings. The past clashed against the present, igniting tensions not yet dealt with. Amid the conversations and shared laughter, Claire noticed herself retreating inward, observing rather than participating. The vibrant assortment of colors sat quietly, waiting for someone to take a leap of faith.
A wave of frustration washed over her. This was her project too, yet she felt paralyzed. With a deep breath, she grabbed a brush, determined to carve her voice into the mural. The question lingered in her mind. What could she bring to this shared canvas amidst her hesitations? As she dipped the brush into paint, she felt a flicker of resolve. This endeavor wasn't just about representation, it was about confronting all that had been left unsaid. Yet, as her brush touched the canvas, a sudden bout of silence enveloped the studio. All eyes turned to her, leaving Claire on the precipice of exposure. Would she plunge headfirst into vulnerability, or retreat into the shadows of her unresolved emotions? In that moment, Claire realized that the mural held not only their shared grief,
but the potential for true connections if only she could find the courage to express her truths. As the silence stretched on, she understood she was faced with a choice: to let fear dictate the narrative or embrace the chaos and begin to rewrite it. What she didn't know was that this moment would set off a chain reaction, one that would force her to confront not only her grief, but the tangled relationships that had suffered in its wake. The brush hovered just above the canvas, its vibrant colors brimming with potential, yet heavy with Claire's doubts. The expectant silence felt suffocating, as if the entire room was collectively holding its breath, waiting for her initiation of something profound. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I can't articulate what I truly feel? These questions assailed her, paralyzing any impulse toward creativity. Despite the paint's allure, an invisible barrier tethered her to a reality she was desperate to escape, yet unwilling to confront. Panic surged anew as her gaze flicked nervously from the brush to the faces surrounding her. Ethan's expression reflected a complex mix of curiosity and concern. Jake's parents bore an intensity that could ignite or obliterate. Each pair of eyes brought with them an unmatched weight of expectation. Then, a flicker of resolve sparked within her. This was not merely a testament to loss, but a shared exploration of parts of themselves that had been concealed under layers of grief. If she could draw from her own pain, perhaps others would find the courage to do the same. Claire grasped the brush tightly, her knuckles whitening. The truth of her emotions clamored to be set free. With a steadying breath, she pressed the bristles against the canvas. The brush glided across the surface, leaving bold strokes in its wake that mirrored her pulse, a rhythm elevating from uncertainty to clarity. As she painted each curve and color, memories cascaded through her mind, intermingling joy with anguish. She thought of late-night conversations full of laughter, of Jake's infectious passion for life that had once enveloped them in a shared light. But the pain of his departure darkened every vividly recalled moment.
"I miss him," Claire finally breathed, her voice barely louder than the gentle brushstrokes. The confession resonated in the stillness, her articulation of grief hanging in the air like a fragile whisper. The burden lifted, and she turned to the others, eyes glistening. "I feel like I can't remember who I am without him." The vulnerability pooled between them, and the energy shifted. What had begun as anxious anticipation morphed into an interconnectedness woven by shared loss. Ethan approached, his voice a quiet resonance. He was a light. He made us all feel alive, didn't he? His words echoed Claire's unspoken truth, and she felt something shift, an alliance against their collective sorrow. The room surged with voices, memories, grievances, and fragmented hopes began to unfurl. Jake's parents shared their stories too, moments of joy mingling with heartbreak that had previously held them captive in silence. As emotions bled onto the canvas, Claire noticed the brush dancing with ease. Each stroke took her further from the shadows of her hesitations and deeper into the richness of shared humanity. In this vibrant explosion of colors and experiences, Claire unearthed a hidden competency, the ability to cultivate connection through authenticity. Gradually, the mural began to embody their collective grief, transforming it into something beautiful, a blossom born from fertile barkness. She felt an emerging strength rise within her, an understanding that vulnerability could carve pathways to understanding and growth. Yet beneath this burgeoning sense of empowerment lay the creeping realization that there were still unexamined emotions lurking in the corners of her heart. As they continued to paint, a nagging thought surfaced. What truths remained unspoken? What relationships had gone unexamined? The colors intertwined, a beautiful cacophony that transcended their individual grief. But Claire could sense an impending storm brewing within her, awaiting the right moment to erupt. The quiet confrontations of her past were not over. The choices she had made and the ones yet to come loomed large. Would this mural truly be the healing canvas she envisioned, or just another masking of unresolved conflicts? The brush hesitated on the canvas, suspended in a moment that felt ripe with implications. The time had come to face those lingering shadows head-on. Uncertainty gripped her anew. What else awaited her in this journey through art, connection, and the unanchored depths of her heart? Claire's gaze remained fixed on the swirling colors on the canvas, yet her mind recoiled inward, navigating through the labyrinth of emotions that had been drawn out. The vibrant spectacle unfolding around her, a mural of shared memories and grief, stood in contrast to the somber tension brewing within her heart. With the initial catharsis now passing, the weight of unexpressed feelings began to settle heavily upon her shoulders.
Ethan stepped back to admire their work, though his eyes betrayed a deeper contemplation. He seemed absorbed in his thoughts, and Claire couldn't help but study him. Beneath the surface brilliance of their artistic endeavor, she felt an electric pulse of awareness. Ethan had been her anchor these past few weeks, yet in the wake of this experience, Claire pondered whether she had truly allowed herself to lean on him, or if she had merely used him as a buffer against her persistent loneliness. "Claire," he said, interrupting her silent musings, "what's next for you? With Jake gone, what do you feel you need to do?" His questions sent icy tendrils of alarm spiraling through her. The truth was, she wasn't sure. The question demanded an answer not only of her future, but also of herself. In facing the mural, confronting her unresolved feelings regarding her relationship with Jake, those she had ignored, separated by walls of self-protection, now surged to the forefront. What dreams had she set aside in favor of stability, in the choice to support Jake's passions rather than pursue her own? She returned her attention to the canvas, the colors still vivid. The brush, once a tool to encapsulate her grief, now transformed into a vehicle of introspection. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly at the vulnerability of speaking aloud. "Maybe I need to rediscover who I am without him." The collective energy in the room shifted again, the atmosphere charged with unspoken understanding. Jake's parents nodded, their expressions reflecting a shared realization that their son had not solely filled their lives with joy, but also inadvertently stifled their individual identities. They too were witnesses to the delicate dance of yearning and grief. As the mural evolved, Claire felt herself painted into corners she had avoided. Her mind revisited paths not taken, and the depth of friendships that remained unexamined. From the corners of her heart, memories of clandestine dreams she had shelved for the sake of companionship echoed loudly, daring her to challenge the status quo. With every stroke on the canvas, Claire began to formulate a plan, one that felt as daunting as it was liberating. What if she took this moment, this experience, and infused it with intention? She envisioned transforming the mural, not just into a tribute to Jake, but a declaration of intention for her own identity going forward. "Maybe we should host a gallery showing," she proposed boldly, her heartbeat quickening with the surge of adrenaline coursing through her. A ripple of astonishment swept through the group, and the weight of expectation morphed into excitement. Yet, beneath that flicker of ambition, lay a fear that loomed larger still, the daunting prospect of revealing her emotions on such a public platform. What if the feedback reflected the specters she feared, the lingering doubts about her ability to define herself as an artist and as an individual? "Are you sure you want to open up like that?" Ethan's voice, though kind, brought a swell of anxiety. His concern mirrored her inner turmoil. The question hovered in the air, challenging her resolve and questioning her readiness to embrace transformation. Claire swallowed hard, grappling with the gnawing uncertainty. Yet amidst that storm of self-doubt, a flicker of determination ignited. Perhaps revealing her vulnerabilities through art could illuminate not only her path, but also forge tighter bonds with others who grappled with the same shadows. "What's the risk of staying silent?" Claire countered, surprising even herself at the intensity of her retort. The choice before her coalesced. She could either retreat into the comfort of familiarity or leap into the unknown. With each vivid stroke of paint, Claire recognized that her mural was transforming into her truth, a cathartic affirmation of her existence beyond Jake's shadow. But as she leaned into this realization, she felt an ever-expanding pressure within, demanding to know, was she truly ready to confront the full spectrum of her emotions? And with that, a new sense of urgency began to take shape, echoing a silent question. What would she uncover within when the final brushstrokes were laid down? The following days passed in a hazy blur, each moment threaded with the tension of anticipation. As the mural neared completion, Claire found herself enveloped in a cocoon of creative fervor, yet the stillness of her personal life gnawed at her. She might have emerged from the shadows of grief, but the path ahead remained obscured. Floating through her routines, Claire began to leverage the awareness of those unprocessed feelings in her art. Every brushstroke felt charged with revelation, a quiet confrontation of both her past with Jake and the latent dreams that had creased the margins of her heart. She discovered a rhythm in the paint, bold strokes for her retrieval, wisps for her fears. Each color whispered memories she had been too afraid to confront, drawing her closer to a clarity she had never dared to envision. Yet as her work became a reflection of her inner turmoil, the impending gallery showing loomed like a specter. Discussions with Ethan revealed their shared enthusiasm, but also a serious undercurrent of worry. Among the excitement lay the lingering question: how to present oneself fully when so much was left unsaid? Could her raw vulnerability withstand the scrutiny of the world? Undeterred, a newfound clarity began to brew within her. Claire recognized the hesitation as an indicator of growth rather than a barrier. She devised a plan sprinkled with courage. She would not only share her mural, but also accompany it with a series of personal statements, an artist's reflection on vulnerability, loss, and identity.
This was not merely an exhibition. It would be her declaration of reclaiming agency in her life. With each day leading to the showing, Claire began to embrace the weight of her fears. She crafted words that resonated with her journey, poignant musings on how sorrow intertwined with creativity. But as she wrote, doubt persisted, whispering unsettling critiques into her mind. What if others perceived her work as too raw, too personal? The thought felt like a whisper of treachery against the very purpose of her endeavor. Ethan, steadfast in his encouragement, remained her sounding board. People connect with the real, he had reminded her gently, understanding the shift she was undergoing. Art isn't just about technique, it's about honesty. His faith enveloped her like a warm embrace, providing an unwavering counterbalance to her spiraling insecurities. As the gallery date loomed closer in, Claire decided to confront her fears head-on. She reached out to artistic peers, asking for feedback and participating in local workshops to hone her narrative skills. Engaging with other creatives ignited a shared energy, instilling within her the resolve to navigate the treacherous waters of vulnerability. The voice that had once been tethered now called for space. Finally, the night of the gallery arrived. Vibrant lights cast a welcoming glow over the room, but as the guests began to fill the space, a phantom apprehension clasped at her throat. Standing before her mural, Claire could hardly recognize the young woman she had become, the one determined to own her narrative. The colors of her sorrow seemed to pulse in the dim light, a vivid reminder that her grief had birthed something powerful: art, connection, and clarity. As she looked down at her notes, trembling fingers poised with uncertainty, she knew an unmistakable truth. This was not just an unveiling of her mural, but also a shedding of her past. With murmurs of appreciation filling the air, Claire understood that she stood at a precipice. The gallery opening was merely a threshold, the first step toward unveiling not just her art, but also declaring herself to the world. What awaited her on the other side? Caught in a braid of excitement and trepidation, Claire took a deep breath and stepped forward. The moment of truth was upon her, and beneath it all, the strongest transformation lay in wait: the discovery of her authentic voice. What awaited in the audience, their reactions and how they might reflect her own emotions, loomed like a tightly coiled spring ready to unfurl. Would she find acceptance or rejection? The gallery buzzed with energy, laughter weaving around gentle conversations as guests marveled at Claire's mural. Each glance, each whisper anchored her deeper into the moment. She stood there, an electrified figure in a sea of appreciation, yet her internal landscape remained tempestuous. Vibrant hues enveloped her art, but the brightest colors became shadows in her mind. Would her truth resonate, or would it repel? She shifted her weight, but the trembling did not subside. Her thoughts rippled through the crowd, terrifyingly tangible. Acceptance or rejection clung to her like a second skin, whispering doubts into her ear. Was it too late to retreat? Just as she envisioned herself walking away, a voice introduced her from the gallery's center. "To understand this work," Ethan began, "is to understand the artist herself." Claire poured her heart into this mural, inviting vulnerability into a space where many of us usually guard our truths. His words washed over her, a cascade of validation she desperately desired but didn't yet believe. The gleaming eyes turned toward her, much like animals shifting in anticipation under the spell of the spotlight. She rose on shaky legs, clutching her notes like a life raft. Maybe it was the heat of the gallery lights, but it felt almost suffocating. They expected something extraordinary: the person in front of them, the mural that painted her lived experience. "Thank you all for being here," Claire managed, her voice trembling. The hush that swept through the room felt as heavy as a thundercloud. This mural symbolizes a journey through grief and self-discovery. As she spoke, each word dug deeper into her own fears, forcing her to confront the very essence of her artistry. The doubts began to intertwine with an exhilarating sense of liberation, exposing the wounds opened by loss. Each stroke in this piece represents not just sorrow, but how that sorrow fuels creativity. She felt lighter with each confession, vulnerability morphing into courage. Art helped me bridge a gap between what was lost and what I can become. Claire paused to gauge the audience's response. Their faces, reflecting empathy and understanding, shifted something deep within her. It wasn't just her art on display, it felt as if she laid bare her soul. With a deep breath, she reached for another truth. "But I also want to address the shadows of fear that crept in while I created this mural." There was a voice that whispered, "What if this is too raw? What if they don't want to see me?" The acknowledgement hung palpably in the air, a collective tension prompting silence. Honestly, it terrified me to stand here, to show you my vulnerabilities. Her heart raced with each word.
Still, batting back her fears, she embraced the precarious moment, aware of how beautifully painful this venture had become. Eventually, she transitioned her focus from her notes to the audience, realizing the paradox of this experience. In unveiling her vulnerabilities, she had not only taken ownership of her narrative, but had inadvertently beckoned them all towards their own hidden stories. As the murmurs of understanding began anew, the emotional weight shifted in the room. Gratitude filled Claire as she witnessed sincere reactions.
It may have started as a confrontation of her past, yet it now felt like a shared moment, a bridge rather than a chasm. But amidst the elation, an undercurrent of dread bubbled within her. She had revealed herself, yet with that revelation loomed the question of what others might now expect from her. Could she continually mine this depth of honesty for her future endeavors? As she stepped back, relinquishing the podium to Ethan, cheers erupted alongside her unsettled thoughts. Would this newfound admiration guide her, or would it chain her to an expectation for continued vulnerability? The gallery had opened a door to her evolution, but what lay beyond it remained enshrouded. In that crowd, Claire caught a flicker of movement, one familiar face obscured in the shadows. Her breath caught in her throat. A rush of recognition filled her with a swirling mix of excitement and dread. Was it possible? Would they breach her newly formed sanctum of self-discovery? The night had not reached its crescendo. Perhaps this was only the prelude for what lay ahead. The weeks that followed the gallery show were transformative for Claire. The mural, now a well-visited piece of local art, became a symbol of shared grief and resilience, all born from her and Mia's collaboration. Claire reveled in the warmth of community feedback. Many had expressed how her honesty resonated with their own experiences of loss, bridging gaps that had long been left unspoken. It provided her with a newfound sense of purpose. Each day in the classroom, Claire infused her lessons with echoes of vulnerability. Students began to embrace creative expression like never before, exploring their own emotions through art in ways that surprised both her and them. The classroom, once a confined space burdened by her grief, now stirred with vibrant energy and shared stories. Each child's voice carrying meaning breathed new life into her role as an educator. Yet beneath the surface of this blossoming fulfillment, Claire still struggled with shadows of doubt. Public recognition did not come without a price. What would happen when the applause faded? Did she possess the strength to navigate her own feelings beyond her artistic outlet? The uncertainty clung to her like a guilty secret. One crisp Saturday morning, still feeling the high from the opening night, Claire received a text from Ethan. "Can we talk?" it read, needed and heavy. They had grown closer since the gallery event, with muted conversations surfacing under the shared appreciation for their artistic endeavors, yet Claire felt those remnants of unease with every word exchanged. Arranging to meet over coffee, Claire sensed a shift. The cafe bustle contrasted against her internal chaos as she entered, the mingling scents of fresh pastries and brewed coffee caught in a delicate dance. The doorway buzzed with life, but her heart raced with apprehension. "Ethan," she greeted, noticing concern lacing his expression the moment their eyes locked. They slid into their usual booth, and Claire could almost hear the silent questions lingering in his mind. The comfort of their previous conversations faltered as he hesitated to speak. "Your mural was incredible, Claire." His voice resonated with genuine admiration, yet she sensed the tension beneath his words. "But I wanted to talk about the next step." At the mention of next step, her stomach twisted in knots of uncertainty. Weren't we still processing the last monumental event? "The next step?" she echoed, searching for reassurance in her own voice.
We've both shared so much, and I think it'd be great to showcase more of your work, your journey. The thing is, it's putting you in the spotlight again. Do you feel ready for that?" His inquiry touched on a nerve. Did Ethan see her potential as a means to further his artistic ambitions, or was it an invitation for ownership, one she had resisted? "I don't know if any of it matters," Claire replied slowly, her voice faltering. "I'm still learning how to embrace this version of myself." "You've already embraced more than you realize," Ethan countered softly. "You've shown how vulnerability can create connection. Don't let fear limit you. It's about inviting others into your journey." His eyes held steady, grounding her amidst the swirling question marks in her mind. The fear of overshadowing what she had learned with still unsettled self-doubt pressed down on her. Yet reflecting on the lessons learned since Jake's loss, the spark that had been ignited as she realized grieving was an act of love rather than weakness, she began to contemplate the possibility. "I think I want to," Claire confessed, her heartbeat echoing the shift in her resolve. "But I want to redefine what that looks like for me. This isn't just about showing art, it's about sharing the journey of becoming wholly." Ethan nodded, that hopeful spark in his eyes igniting something within her. "Then let's keep it authentic, honor the journey." As they sipped their coffees, the conversation transformed into a brainstorming session. Claire sketched out new ideas and themes that intertwined her artistic voice with her narrative, materializing it into a collection that would not only showcase her growth, but empower others to explore their own stories. Weeks went by. Under the bright glow of commitment and clarity, her upcoming showcase emerged, a festival of stories, a canvas of connection. Claire no longer felt the weight of presentation, she experienced the exhilaration of identity reclamation. This time, she wasn't just an artist, but a voice among many, advocating for authenticity. On the day of the event, the gallery buzzed with excitement as Claire presented her new collection, artworks dedicated to healing, to moments captured under the theme of shared vulnerability. Yet this time she stood poised not just as a creator, but as a facilitator of discussions, inviting audience members to contribute their own narratives. "Art doesn't just exist for display, it thrives when we share its foundations," Claire announced, her voice steady and alive with confidence. With each story shared by attendees, she felt the walls of self-doubt crumble further, revealing a tapestry of connection threaded through their vulnerabilities. In the aftermath of the showcase, Claire reflected on her journey, recognizing that fear was not a barrier but an invitation to forge deeper connections in sharing their truths. She stood proud of her accomplishments. Not only had she embraced her emotional landscape, but she had also created space for others to do the same. This evolving understanding constantly challenged her to explore more layers of herself, transforming her grief into a beacon of hope. Claire cultivated a solid confidence, now an established artist whose voice resonated with competence and authenticity. The height of her achievement lay not merely in artistic inquiry, but in the realization that a profound lineage of shared experiences weaved their way throughout her work. She had conquered the demons of doubt, sidled up beside fear, and turned it into a catalyst for transformation. The legacy of her son no longer overshadowed her, it uplifted her, illuminating a path towards her own identity and purpose, a legacy soaked in compassion, understanding, and a celebration of life. Emboldened by her journey, Claire smiled as she packed her supplies, thoughts swirling with ideas for new projects and narratives to explore. There was a world of possibilities awaiting her, and she was ready not only to meet them, but to thrive within them. Now, more than ever, her voice would echo through all creative spaces, where art and life intertwined, an entire spectrum of experiences presented with courage and authenticity. Don't wait even one more second. You need to subscribe now to the channel to catch the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these powerful narratives alive. Comment your reactions and theories about Claire's transformation in the comments below. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who could be inspired by this remarkable conclusion. Show your support. Every action matters.